Let us start the session with a quote from very well-known book. Hope you might have read this book, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, by Harari. I'm just reading 3 paragraphs from this. Just there is no barrier between humans and other beings. Neither is there a strict hierarchy. See, this is about the humans before the emergence of urbanization and even agriculture. He is talking about the tribals. Non-human entities do not exist merely to provide for the needs of man. The world does not revolve around humans or around any other particular group of beings. This is a paragraph. Some other paragraph. When animism was the dominant belief system, hope that you understand animism. Norms and values had to take into consideration the outlook and interests of a multitude of other beings such as animals, plants, fairies and ghosts. For example, a forager band in the Ganges Valley. Interestingly, to give some example, he brings Ganges Valley here. A forager band in the Ganges Valley may have established a rule forbidding people to cut down a particular large fig tree, lest the fig tree spirit become angry and take revenge. Another forager band living in the Indus Valley, again Indus Valley, may have forbidden people white-tailed foxes because a white-tailed fox once revealed to a wise old woman where the band might find precious obsidian. One more paragraph. Hunter-gatherers picked and pursued wild plants and animals, which could be seen as equal in status to Homo sapiens. The fact that man hunted sheep did not make the sheep inferior to man. Just as the fact that tigers hunted man did not make man inferior to tigers. Being communicated with one another directly and negotiated the rules governing their shared habitat. In contrast, of course, he goes further. Post-tribal era, okay. He calls them as farmers, okay. I may not prefer to call them as farmers. It includes all of us, okay. Farmers is only a upalakshana, only a representative. In contrast, farmers owned and manipulated plants and animals and could hardly degrade themselves by negotiating with their positions. Hence, the first religious effect of the agricultural evolution was to turn plants and animals from equal members of a spiritual round table into property. So, with these paragraphs, let us start the session. I was going through these paragraphs in the book, and of course, I have a little Vedic background, some Vedic knowledge, I believe. And with all my Vedic knowledge, I was thinking about the Vedic mantras. When I go through Vedic mantras, one of the most striking things is nowhere in the Rik, Yajus, Sama mantras you can see that animals are inferior to humans. This is a very important observation. Okay. Because this Vedic mantras, they contain around 26,000 lines. Okay. Not a small book. You may tell in Hanuman Chalisa also it doesn't come. I'm not talking about a small book. The literature which contains 26,000 lines, where the multiple rishis contributed. Minimum some 1,500 rishis contributed. Okay. And the Vedic corpus came in a vast area. If you go through some researchers, in modern language we have to say from Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, not even Madhya Pradesh, yeah, and there up to Afghanistan. Okay. In several other places that include Punjab, river Saraswati, Ganga, Yamuna, Sarayu, Sindhu. In these banks, rishis stayed and they contributed. And in such a huge literature, which has no single author, we don't see anywhere a proclamation that animals are inferior to humans. This is very interesting. And I was just making a comparison in my mind. I observe this absence of human race superiority notion. Okay, I can call it in that way. Absence of human race superiority notion. I observe in Vedic mantras this absence. Absence itself is a knowledge for your information. Absence is observed as a pramana. I don't know how to translate pramana. Pramana means instrument of knowledge. It is called as anupalabdhi pramana. Among various pramanas like pratyaksha, anumana, upamana. See, absence has its own power. What is not in Rigveda is a very important, it should be a very important topic to be researched. So this prejudice of human race superiority is absolutely absent in Vedic mantras. Point number one. And when I go through this Harari's book, I also understand another thing. Only after the emergence of the notion of human race superiority, after a couple of millennia or after several centuries, as a penalty of that notion, another notion emerged. What's that? Even among humans, one group is superior to another group. Please understand this. Okay. So as a consequence of the notion of human race superiority, humans started to fight considering one group to be inferior to other group. So if Vedic mantras don't have the notion of human race superiority, we also expect that Vedic mantras also will not have a group superiority notion of a particular group's superiority or inferiority. Is it right? Yes, it is right. This is very interesting. Anybody can challenge me regarding this. Okay. Anybody can debate with me. And this is my observation. In that sense, as Vedic mantras, Rig, Yajus, Sama mantras, they are absolutely free from the human race superiority prejudices, and a particular human class inferiority prejudices. Please understand this. This is a very important and interesting observation. By this, I am compelled to think that Vedic mantras belong to that era. Okay. Harari talks about animism, and definitely Vedic mantras are filled with animism. Vedic mantras have animistic spirit. If at all any religion existed at the time of the Vedic mantras, that was animism. Harari talks about the tribal life regarding this. But Vedic mantras don't reflect totally a tribal life, can be semi-agricultural life. Yeah. Vedic mantras reflect the society of Vedic mantras reflect semi-agricultural society. What about the kings in Vedic mantras? Yeah. There were some leaders who are generally called as Rajanyas. You can't take them to be absolutely the great emperors like Samudragupta or Chandragupta Maurya. Okay. There is something called Rajanya concept, and some kind of democratic element was there among these Rajanyas, about which Rigveda is talking. Say in the 10th mandala, if you see this mantra, Vishastva sarva vanchantu matvad rajyam adhibrashat. O Rajanya, may all the people love you, so that may you not fall from the kingdom. You see some democratic hints in these kinds of mantras. I can quote much more mantras to show you the democratic hints found in the Rigveda. And one more thing I want to share with you, a very important observation. In around 26,000 lines of this Vedic corpus, you don't see, even in a single place, the name of any city or village. Okay. Of course, if you go through, some scholars have given the map of the Veda, the geographical location of the Veda. You can see only the names of rivers: Saraswati, Ganga, Yamuna, Sindhu, Sarayu, Parushni. Only through the names of rivers, Vedic regions are identified. See the text in which around 1,500 seers have contributed. The text which has 26,000 lines don't record the name of any village or town or city. This is, to me, a very important observation. I don't know how the people look at it. Some people may think Vedas are barbarous, very old, therefore, very old is true. Generally, they identified this old age with barbarous or savageous, spirit. These are mere words for your information. These words don't have meaning. They are meaningless. The word barbarous or savageous. Okay, they don't have meaning. They are just jargons. Okay. Better you can call foresters as tribals or foresters. These are the good words. See, the so-called civilized person, an urbanized man, sees foresters as ugly and horrible and stamp them as barbarous and savages. Don't bring all. Okay, please understand. Definitely Sanskrit doesn't have, or even Tamil doesn't have an equivalent word for the word barbarous or savages. Okay. Coming back to the point, to me it conveys, what conveys? Veda doesn't mention any city or village. It conveys a very important thing. The Vedic people did not have a very strong notion of ownership upon the regions. Okay. Leave alone the very great kingdoms and states like Kosala and Magadha. Even a small village name is not recorded in the Veda. Okay. So, Veda belongs to such an early, such an ancient era that we need to understand. I am not giving here any date because I don't know. Many people guess many dates for the Veda. I can tell this much. The Veda has animism, beautiful kind of animism, and the Veda is semi-agricultural. I mean, Veda reflects a semi-agricultural society, and in its leadership, it has some democratic hints, and very importantly, it doesn't talk about any, it doesn't have the names recorded of villages and cities, by which I understand that people of the Veda did not have strong ownership notion. With all these things, now I recollect absence of the human race prejudice, human race superiority prejudice, and the class superiority / inferiority prejudice is a very important feature of the Vedic corpus. Now some Purva Pakshas can come. Purva Paksha, how to translate? Can anybody help? Some objections can come. We have only limited time. We have to go to Ramayana. He is also waiting. Before Ramayana, I want to present this Vedic background. Okay. Let me take two Purva Pakshas, two objections for this. The last book of Rigveda, 10th Mandala, has Purusha Sukta, has a chapter about the cosmic being, in which there is a verse, Brahmana is the face of that cosmic being, Kshatriya the arms, Vaishya the thighs, and Shudra the feet. This is quite often quoted, constantly quoted by several scholars to show that the Veda has a very strong caste prejudice. First of all, in this passage in Purusha Sukta, let me quote that passage. Brahmanasya mukhamasit bahu rajanyah kritaha uru tadasya yad vaishyah padbhyam shudro ajayata. Nowhere these four people, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, are called as caste. The word caste is not used here. Of course, the word caste is a foreign word. brought by Portuguese people to India. In Portugal country, they had something called castas, and from that point of view, they understood the classes of humans in India, and they called these classes as castes. It has a very long history. I don't want to go into it. Neither these four are called as jatis in Rigveda. This is the only place where these four groups are not even groups. Four terms are coming: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Four terms together come in Rigveda in this only one place. And that too, the word Shudra comes in only one place in Rigveda. Probably, if you include Yajurveda mantras, in 5 to 6 places the word Shudra comes in Yajurveda mantras. In Samaveda mantras, this word doesn't exist at all. The word Shudra doesn't exist at all. Samaveda also has the same chapter, Purusha Sukta. Okay. And this passage is skipped there. And any researcher knows the 10th mandala of Rigveda, okay, reflects only the Samavedic Purusha Sukta. Okay, it is in Rigveda's 10th mandala, Samaveda's Purusha Sukta is repeated with a few alterations. Please understand this. It's not that Samaveda's Purusha Sukta is following Rigvedic Purusha Sukta. Being this chapter is in the end, in the 10th book, we need to understand only the 10th book Purusha Sukta of Rigveda is following Samavedic Purusha Sukta. We need to understand it. In the 10th mandala, in the 10th book of Rigveda, we have this passage, Brahmanosya Mukhamasit. And normally, several scholars, they blame the Veda just by having this passage. They say that Shudra is considered to be food. They add Shudra caste is considered to be food, and the Brahmana caste is taken to be a face of the cosmic being. First of all, we need to understand the beauty of this passage. The passage sees all the four in the same personality. It sees the cosmos as a personality. That's a very interesting thing, in which this passage comes. This Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra in the Rigveda, whether it is a community, it denotes communities or classes or castes. Nothing is found there. Only terms are found there. What can be the meaning of these four terms? Why Shudra is taken to be feet here? This is a very important question. And this Purusha Sukta comes in the 10th book as 90th chapter. Okay. Just before that, in 87th chapter, there is a mantra, Moolam Yatudhanasya Vrascha. In that passage, the commentator of the Veda, Sayanacharya, he interprets Moolam as feet. Okay. Literal meaning of Moolam is source and foundation, base. Okay. But in the Vedic language, Moolam is an archetypal word, which is feet also, which is foundation also. Even in various Vedic rituals, when we take the darba grass and we wet darba grass in ghee, okay, at that time the administrator, priest, says Agram Moolam Madhyam, Agram Madhyam Moolam. You might have heard of this. There, Agra is the top of the darba grass, Madhya is middle, Moola is the base. So anyhow, Mula is base, Mula is feet. If you see from that light, Shudra is taken to be the feet because Shudra is the foundation of the society. Shudra is taken to be the foundation of the society, and every human limb is taken to be a symbol of some concept in the Veda. We should understand these words like a feet only from Vedic point of view. Veda belongs to such an ancient era in which people never knew that the feet are inferior and the head is superior. Okay. These things are from modern perspective. These are modern point of view. They didn't know all those things. In that huge Vedic corpus, nowhere it is proclaimed that feet are inferior and the head is superior. Please understand this. So you can't take this passage in that way. And of course, feet also symbolize the movement. This is also a very important interpretation. We need to interpret the mantra from Vedic point of view. In many places in the Veda, feet symbolize movement. So, this Shudra represents movement. Therefore, he is considered to be feet. And I want to give another example. Normally, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are taken to be Varnas, right? In Dharma Shastras. The same way, there are 4 ashramas. Among the 4 ashramas, sannyasa is taken to be the feet. Please understand this. That is why a sannyasin is called as Sri Charana. Sri Charan, they say. Sri Pad, they say. Very popular name, Prabhupada, ISKCON founder. And Shankaracharya is called as Bhagavad Pada. Even Madhvacharya is called as Bhagavad Pada. Okay, feet of the Lord. In Tamil also we call in that way. There was a great Siddha named Ramalinga. He is called as Ramalinga Adigal. Adigal means feet. Okay. So if they would have taken feet as inferior, how can they call the great sannyasins and spiritual masters as inferior? We need to think on this light. The one more Purva Paksha. That is, there are in the Vedic corpus, there are some terms like Dasyus, Vrutras, Panis, and Valas. Okay. Generally in the Veda, they are taken to be negative words. You go to any Sanskrit dictionary, Dasyu means a robber, a thief. Okay. Vala means bondage. Vala avarane, vala samvarane. And Pani means materialist. Pranam means matter, materialism. Pani is materialist. Vrutra. Vrutra again means adjunct. Avarana again. This is the traditional interpretation. Okay. The great traditionalists like Yaska, the great seers like Yaska interpret these words in this way, and these are the dictionary meanings after all. But when the Western interpreters of the Veda, okay, when they took the Veda, they gave a very peculiar meaning, very strange meaning of these words. These are all aborigines of India, they say. And the gods and goddesses like Indra, Varuna, Vayu, they took them to be invaders. Okay. That's how, unfortunately, the whole of the Vedic literature is interpreted by some of the Western scholars, not all. And by this, one can understand that Veda creates a division between invaders and aborigines. Nowhere in the Veda, Dasyus or Vrutras or Valas are taken to be aborigines. Nowhere Vedas proclaim Indra or Varuna to be invaders. But somehow this notion, some Western scholars, Western researchers, they imposed upon the Vedas and it continues. Definitely we need to address this. It is a very important issue. If you understand the meaning of these words like Vrutras and Valas in a traditional way, you don't see this divide of invaders and the aborigines in the Veda. This is a very important perspective. Okay. You know Dr. Ambedkar? He straight away rejects in his book named Who Were Shudras. He straight away rejects, he writes pages after pages and straight away rejects this Aryan invasion theory. Some invaders invading aborigines, and in this way we need to interpret the words like Dasyus and Valas. He straight away rejects it. With a very strong rationale, he argues. Okay. Next. And he takes this also. See, who can be a better person to fight for the downtrodden of India than this Dr. Ambedkar, who was highly concerned with the downtrodden. That person, in researching Shudras, he never considered the Vedic people as foreign invaders, point number one. Next one, in the same book, he wonders how this passage, Shudra's evolution from the feet of cosmic being, came in the Rig Veda, Rigvedic society, represented wonderfully a united society where the varied and different kinds of people belonging to different occupations coexisted together happily. How this passage entered into Rig Veda, he wonders. Therefore, he considers this passage as an interpolation. But I don't take that in that way. Okay. What I feel is, it's not just my feeling. I have already told how Shudra means foundation and how Shudra represents movement. Okay. So I need not explain this further. Now let us take Ramayana. After having this Vedic background, let us deal with Ramayana. Absence of human race prejudice, human race superiority prejudice, which I was talking about in the Veda. How about Ramayana? Ramayana is definitely more urbanized than the Veda. Ramayana records about several cities, Ayodhya, Lanka, Kishkindha, so on and so forth. Ramayana records various villages like Nandigrama, Shingiberapura, so on and so forth. Ramayana talks about the rich culture and civilization. All these things we can see in the epic Ramayana. So we may guess, seeing the urbanization in Ramayana, seeing rich urban societies in Ramayana, we can guess that there must be the growth of prejudices also in Ramayana. Definitely, Ramayana is not as urbanized as Mahabharata, but the epic starts with the description of Ayodhya. Okay, a beautiful description. 3 or 4 chapters are dedicated by Maharishi Valmiki. Okay, so can we expect some some prejudices in Ramayana? This question can naturally come. Now the answer is this class superiority notion or human class inferiority notion is not found in the epic Ramayana too. To me, Ramayana is, through Ramayana, I denote Valmiki's Ramayana, starting from the preparation, starting from Rama's exile to Rama's coronation. Please understand this. I am confined to that. You should not ask, you should not raise an opposition beyond that. Okay. Valmiki's original text, starting with Rama's exile, ending with Rama's coronation. This is Ramayana to me. In that Ramayana, let me tell you, I never find anywhere which may run around some 36,000 lines, such a huge literature. In that literature, you can't find anywhere a proclamation that a particular group of humans is superior to another particular group of humans or inferior to another particular group of humans. This is very interesting. Not only this, let us go a step ahead. And here we have a person who has read Valmiki Ramayana. Hope that he knows. In the whole of the epic, you can never see anywhere a proclamation that a human race is superior to animal race. Okay, humans are superior to other species. This proclamation, this idea is absent in this huge literature. This is again a very important observation. In this way, the text coincides with the Vedic mantras. The text reflects the Vedic mantras. At least this prejudice can exist. Which prejudice? Humans are superior. At least this prejudice can exist. Say, when we ridicule someone, okay, we may call him by the name of some race, some caste, or some community. He is a very narrow-minded fellow like that community. These kinds of statements come in general among humans, even up to our times. Okay, we may pretend to stand in equality and all. That's a different thing. But in our psychic imprints, unconsciously, these ugly things are existing. Somewhere it will come out without our own knowledge. We may take some communities to be bad or ugly, and we will talk about it. Whether we do it or not, to ridicule someone or to talk bad about someone, we will take the name of some animals, right? He is doggy, that day is piggy, he is like a pig. All these things we say. Even that kind of expression is not found in Valmiki's Ramayana. See, this is common almost in all literature, which is as big as Valmiki. Somewhere you can find the epic which reflects the society. Somewhere you can find all these things. Say in Mahabharata, Dushasana is ridiculing Bhimasena, calling him as a cow. Ye purasmanu pranrityanti punar gauriti gauriti. He is walking like a bull. Of course, he is walking like a bull is a poetic, beautiful expression. But Dushasana, telling this, he ridicules Bhimasena. And Bhimasena got hurt by the statement of Dushasana. But later, when Bhimasena is taking revenge, he also ridicules Dushasana in the same way. This is an example for ridiculing a person by taking the name of some animal. Okay, these are all very common expressions found in many literary works, especially in the medieval age, throughout the world. It is not only in India or in Africa. No. Throughout the world, you can see all these things. But you can never see in the epic Ramayana. Okay. Ridiculing someone by calling him as piggy. This fellow is a pig. This fellow is a dog. That kind of expression. It's a very interesting thing. So, of course, in Indian or Hindu chronology of texts, we all know that Ramayana is closer to the date of the Veda, closer to the Veda, not only with the date, also through the spirit. So it's not a surprise if it has this absence of prejudices. Normally, we all know that in many places, both in India and abroad, in mass media, sometimes even in syllabus, Hindu religion is put down by telling that Hinduism has caste pride, caste ill treatment, and caste domination, caste castigation, so on and so forth. Of course, such kind of things we see in the medieval era of Hindu culture. I don't disagree with that. But is it abnormal? Abnormal means, is it very unusual? Is it only found in Hinduism? Only found in Hindu culture? Go anywhere in the world. Rich dominates poor. Okay, some kind of prejudice comes. One who is rich in economic status dominates poor. Probably white dominates black. And one country dominates the other country. Scholar dominates fool. One community dominates another community. Unfortunately, this is the history of the whole of medieval age of the world. Everywhere this happened. One race dominated another race. I don't know what is the meaning of race. Is there anything called race existing? I don't know. But race exists in the notion. And we dominate in the name of some race or some religion or some community. This nasty thing can happen. It happens throughout the world. Gradually, we try to come out of all these things nowadays. Still, those things are sitting in unconscious psyche. Right? So, if medieval age is filled with all these things, then the texts, literary works coming from medieval age will contain all these things. Expect it. Say, you might have gone through Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. Throughout that play, Shakespeare, paints, what is his name? The character? Shylock, right? In a negative light, of course, he is negative. The character is negative. But Shakespeare calls the Shylock as negative because he is a Jew. The whole of play, you can see this. He is a Jew, therefore he is negative. This is prejudice. By this, you can't call Shakespeare as idiot and all. He is great. He has a lot of great principles. But still, this prejudice he had. I gave example as the Shakespeare. And many of the writers were like that. Throughout the world, not only in a particular country. In medieval age, many of the writers are like that, were like that. This is the unfortunate thing that happened. So don't blame only some Indian texts which have prejudice. This is what Swami Vivekananda said. There are prejudice in the texts found in the medieval age of India. And for that, don't show India to be something unusually committing mistake or blunder. Vivekananda says two things. You compare the prejudices found in Indian texts of medieval age with the external world. The prejudices found in Indian texts are significantly lesser. This is what he says. He also tells us some other thing. Even though those texts have prejudices, okay, you see only that, but beyond that, we also have so many statements in Indian texts to support equality. Lots and lots of stories, parables to support equality in society. Only those philosophers, those acharyas who were against this ill treatment, downtrodden's ill treatment, downtrodden's castigation, they were revered like Ramanuja or Ramananda. In almost every hagiography you see the stories of saints where the Indian God always stands for downtrodden's. I can quote here story after story after story, but I don't have time for that. Say Kanakadasa or Tirupanalvar or Ravidas of Uttar Pradesh. In almost all these stories, when there is a situation where there is a fight between, there is a quarrel between an upper class person, a rich person, and a downtrodden. Our hagiographies always tell that God stands with a downtrodden. Only these kinds of themes we get from those hagiographies. There was a great scholar named P.V. Kane. He wrote a brilliant book, History of Dharma Shastra, which runs around for several volumes. And having the base as Swami Vivekananda's rhetoric statement in this History of Dharma Shastra, in several places, he makes a comparative study of the prejudices found in the medieval age of India with the prejudices found in the external world. And also shows how the prejudices found in the medieval age of India are significantly lower than that are found in the external world. What I feel is, if you go through that book, you can understand. When we see this in History of Dharma Shastra or in Swami Vivekananda's rhetoric, a question comes to me, why it is significantly lower in India? This question comes to me. I have an answer, and I guess my answer is correct. This is because, in spite of the emergence of various texts in the medieval India, our elders preserved that old Vedas, okay, which belong to the era that is prejudice free. Our elders preserved Valmiki's Ramayana, fortunately up to our times, with a very less interpolations. This itself is a proof that Valmiki's Ramayana is very less interpolated. Which is a proof? Which is a proof? Any idea? Yes, absence of prejudices. If you have medieval age interpolations in Valmiki's Ramayana, prejudices are expected. Okay. So fortunately, I don't think any other part of the world preserves the literary works which are as old as Valmiki's Ramayana or the Vedas. Okay. So if Egypt is great through the existence of pyramids up to our times, here in India, we have the oldest literary work of India, that is none other than Rigveda, Samaveda, okay, which predates these kinds of prejudices. And we are thankful to our elders who preserved this literature meticulously by memorizing the whole text. Even now, there are millions in India who can chant the Vedic mantras without seeing the book. Rigveda has 10,586 mantras, verses. I know thousands who can chant the whole of the book without seeing the book. In this way, our elders preserved this text, Rigveda, Samaveda and Yajurveda, Valmiki's Ramayana. Not only preserved, they also showed any text belonging to medieval age is only a secondary evidence for dharma. If you want to lead a righteous way of life, the primary source of the righteous way of life is the Veda. Okay. Anything which contradicts with the Veda, you can ignore it or you can even resist it. Okay. This is how our elders taught to us. Probably because of this reason, in our culture, the prejudices are significantly lower compared to the external world. And in future also, we need to follow the same course, please understand. That is very important. It's not enough to talk only about the past glories. We have to follow the same line. Okay. Let me conclude. After this conclusion, I need some 5 more minutes. Let me conclude this statement. The scripture or text which is absolutely free of all prejudices alone deserves the highest honor regarding being pramana for dharma. Okay. So 5 more minutes. For all these minutes, I was talking about prejudices. Now let me talk something about equality. Topic is equality and prejudice in Ramayana, right? Now let me take the concept of equality. The epic starts with the statement of equality. Valmiki wants to know about Rama. Narada describes the qualities of Rama. When he is describing the qualities of Rama, one of the 64 qualities of Rama is Sarva Samaha, or yes, Sarva Samaschaiva Sadaika Priyadarshanaha. The word Aryaha is used here. Please don't take the meaning given by Hitler for Aryan. Aryan is not a race in the Veda or Ramayana. Okay. Arya is a Sanskrit word. If you go to the dictionary, you can understand it as noble, cultured. That's it. Arya means noble or cultured. And Buddha's teaching is called as, any of you know? Buddha's teaching is called as Arya Satyam. If the word Arya comes in Ramayana or the Veda, unfortunately, some scholars translate as race. But the same scholars, when it comes to the Buddha's Arya Satyam, they translate as noble truth. 4 noble truths, 8 noble truths. You might have heard of all these things of Buddha. Actually, that's the real meaning for Arya. Noble and also cultured. Rama is highly cultured. Cultured means what? To Valmiki, cultured means what? Every day without failure, he performs Vedic rituals like Sandhya or Agni Karya, Upasana. Okay. Being in that Vedic rituals, he is a very sincere practitioner of Vedic rituals. Aryaha. And next one, Sarva Samaha. He is equal to all. And he holds the dharma of equality. Next line, Sadaika Priyadarshanaha. It has 2 meanings. The first meaning, Rama is handsome. He is pleasing. Okay, when the people look at him, he is very much pleasing. This is one meaning, a normal meaning. Another meaning, he always sees all beings with the eye of love. Sada eka priya darshanaha, one who has darshana of love. Okay, darshana of love alone. Always, Sada Eka Priyadarshanaha. This is the next meaning of that expression. Later in Ayodhya Kanda, the second book of Ramayana, when Rama is on the way to his father's house, people are standing around the chariot of Rama. There Valmiki describes Sarvesham hisa dharmatma varnanam kurute dayam chaturnam hi vayasthanam tena te tam anuvrataha. Rama showers his grace or love to all classes of the people. Sarvesham varnanam kurute dayam. And all people belonging to all stages of life. Chaturnam hi vayasthanam. Therefore, tena. Te tam anuvrataha. They also follow him. It's a beautiful sloka. And hope that you know the story of Ramayana. Please give the name of one of the friends of Rama. Yes, Guha. Who is Guha? He is a forester. He is a tribal. And in the later texts like Ramcharitamanas and Kamban's literature, you can find a lot of large praises, okay, regarding Rama befriending Guha. But when you go to Valmiki's literature, he just records. He is not wondering how great Rama is. Rama is befriending Guha. He is not wondering. He is just telling like that. Valmiki just tells like that. Which means, in Valmiki's society, which is contemporary to Rama, this kind of befriending was common. Rama's one of the best friend is Guha, and Valmiki calls him as Ramasya Atma Samassakha. Okay. He is an equal friend of Rama. This is what Valmiki calls. Valmiki says about Guha. Atma Samassakha. Rama considers Guha as his equal friend. See, Rama is a prince of Ayodhya. Guha is a tribal man. And this is not the first meeting of Rama and Guha in Valmiki's Ramayana. Several times, whenever Rama comes to the forest, he moves with Guha. Guha is one of the best friends of Rama. Valmiki describes him to be the equal friend of Rama, Atma Samasakha. And Rama's heart is so magnanimous, he crosses the communities. He transcends the boundaries. He goes to the hut of Shabari. Hope you know Shabari. Someone asked today's morning, are you going to narrate Shabari's story? I don't know. Who is that person? Yeah, okay. Rama goes to the house of Shabari, hut of Shabari. Shabari is a tribal woman and honors that Shabari for her austerity. Guha belongs to a hunter's clan and he remains as a hunter. Rama befriends him. Here Shabari is a tribal woman who practices severe austerity. Okay. Rama goes to see her and also says to Lakshmana, we are in search of Sita, my dear Lakshmana. Hereafter, good things are going to happen in our life because we have seen such a great woman of austerity. This is what he says. And Rama crosses the boundary again of the communities, castes and races. So he befriends Sugriva and he hugs Hanuman and feels indebted to Hanuman. Nakurbi Sadrisham Priyam. He also befriends Vibhishana. Okay. Throughout the epic, this theme, Samadarshana, Samadharma, equality, gets resonated. We should understand this and we should follow we Indians should follow the footstep of Ramachandra. That will bestow welfare to our nation and also to our culture and religion. Okay. Thank you.